Selling training courses 1,000 times easier than being a property developer. For the people that I've seen on Instagram and all the rest of it, they're the storytellers. They sell this theoretical, this is what can happen, all this money you can make, but you just pay me 1,500 quid to 12 grand for me to tell you a story. And thanks for that, because I'll fly my private plane and buy my Lamborghini with your money. You can go and take all the risks. Thank you very much. And they're just rinse and repeating it.
It's not about learn this theory. Here's like some gamified 10-hour theoretical course on something that you yourself haven't even done, Mr. Guru. The hard bit is you're on site and you're dealing with nuance and you're dealing with difficulty, and you want experienced people who can give you that support. And that's what I think people are going to really want. They're going to want people like us who are transparent, happy to say, look, mate, you're in a shit situation. You're going to really struggle getting out of this one. So behave defensively and do this and put this provision in. Welcome back. Episode 91 of the Ground Up podcast. We're going to get straight into it today. We're going to be a punchy episode of questions that we think are critical to 2026, different predictions for the year, curveball questions, AI predictions, political predictions, as well as key business risks and key risks to developers to watch out for this year. So this will be a good episode. You've got Dorian Payne, Stuart Wyeth, Jack Jiggins is on the slopes today, so he is not here, and myself, Ryan Beaumont. If you don't know who we are, we're 4 property developers based in the UK. We run different businesses. We've got hundreds of millions of pounds of developments in the pipeline, and every week we get around the mic and we talk about property, business, risk to us and the market, and try and disseminate as much useful information as we possibly can. So enjoy this episode and subscribe. Do that as just the first thing if you can. Just subscribe. Helps us out a lot. Helps the channel. Like it, drop us a comment if you want questions for next week's episode. We do look at all of those. But yeah, subscribe. It just, it's very helpful. We don't say that enough, boys, but we should remind people to subscribe, because that's going to help push the channel more, help us do more content, and help us invest more into the channel and the wider network. But we'll start this episode because this is the first one that's coming out off the back of the Ground Up Live, which was where, just for anyone who doesn't know, we hosted an event in central London at the brewery. We had 160 developers, mixture of developers, investors, and business owners came down to watch us boys waffle on all day about all kinds of topics and Q&As. And our goal for that event was to make it very different from your traditional property and business events. We wanted zero corporatization at the event. We wanted it to just be candid, free-flowing conversation, anything goes, relaxed environment. And I'm not going to lie, I think we hit the nail perfectly for what we tried to do. Doesn't mean there weren't things we could improve on, but the feedback was people saying it's the best event they've ever been to, and in property. So great. And what do you guys think, Stu? What are you saying about the event?
Mate, it was such a nice event. It was so relaxed. It was very informal. There was no shirts in the room, no suits, no expensive suits, just people in a relaxed environment. We had 2 sofas at the front, and just the feedback from people I was speaking to. We only got a few minutes of the day. The only thing I'd say is that we need to try and build a bit more time where we can. I mean, the network at the end was great. We went on till, I was there till about 9 o'clock, I think, 9:30 at the end. But yeah, people in the room thoroughly enjoyed it and got lots of value from it. Obviously, you worry about when you do these things if people are going to pay hard-earned money to come and listen to us all chat around. But that mic was flowing around the room, loads of questions all day. Really good. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, we had the mic box, didn't we? It's like a little foam box, and we just threw that around the room for different topics of conversation. And then we'd have different sessions where it was just questions and set topics by the audience. And I think that went down really well. It gave people a chance to just direct the engagement of the day. D, what are you saying, man? What did you say about the event?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to have well over 100 people there. It was a nice filled room. Thanks to the sponsors as well for helping us out. And because without them, we wouldn't have been able to run it. But yeah, same as Stu, really. Everyone I was speaking to was giving very good feedback. They really enjoyed it. They just wanted more time, really. That's where everyone, they just wanted more of it. They wanted more opportunity to speak. They wanted more opportunity to to listen and learn. But between everyone's slides, I mean, well, my goal with all of these things is that people walk away with at least one thing. That's it. The one thing that they can, learn from, or that makes a difference in their business. But the amount of nuggets across everybody throughout the day, it was way more than one thing. It was too many things.
Yeah, it's always good when you see people like just engaged and not on their phone or chatting or things like that. Everyone was just the eyes to the front, engaged. And then like when we asked for questions, people were like, I've got a question, or people wanting to get involved with the topics. It was a really good event. And for anyone who's maybe new to the channel, our last episode, episode 90, is the live podcast that we recorded on the day. So you can watch that if you want to check out a bit of the vibes. And then from then until now, we also would have posted a few of the talks in between on the day as well. So basically, the last week and the next week, there should be quite a lot of content coming out from the event. So please do check that out and give us feedback. And we will be throwing another summer event is the plan. We've got some other events that we do in between that, which are like a ski trip, golf trip, other bits and bobs. But yeah, the summer event will be similar to the live, but we're going to make it slightly different in a way, maybe a bit bigger and better if possible. So yeah, stay tuned. Big love. Thank you for everyone who came as well. Massively appreciate.
You going to sing at the summer one?
You're going to sing a bit of karaoke, I reckon, in the afternoon for you, Dorian.
Right? You're going to bring your pop star.
Well, we did have a rapper, didn't we? We had a rapper come in, which from the feedback I had, and it's in the live recording of the podcast, everyone said it was a great time for that rapper to come in because, you start to get a little bit lethargic, sat there, just your legs start to wear a little bit. So we got everyone to stand up. Yeah, we were like, everyone just stand up. Everyone just, loosen up a bit. And then all of a sudden, this rapper walks down the middle of the aisle and starts doing a diss track on all of us.
And
it went down really well. Yeah, it was good.
It was good, man. Nice guy as well. Yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, and a good rapper.
But I just want to say about the level of questions in the room. There was a few beginners in there. One guy basically handed his notice in the day before, so I'm going to this event, and he had to give his 3 months notice. He's like, "Well, I'm here to change my life." I was like, "Wow, that's powerful." But obviously the ticket price versus the room, it wasn't. It was inspiring people who wanted to get on and do business. And I think, if we run it in the summer, I think we can probably get a few more faces down there. We don't want to drop the ticket. I mean, it's expensive to run these events. Like we don't do it for money. It only costs us a little bit each to run the event, but we get so much out of it as well. And, who knows where it's going to go. So, I don't want people, the listeners, to think, we're doing it just to try and sponge money, because it's not like that at all. We don't make a penny out of it. It's just to cover the cost of how much is the venue? Like 15 grand or something. We didn't do it without the sponsors. Massive thanks.
Cost us 37 grand. Cost us 37
grand for the event.
I think we generated just over 30 grand in revenue. So we lost money on it, but we had a great time, so we don't mind.
It's events business, baby. That's what happens.
Oh yeah. But that's not what we're here for, right? We're here to just be as useful as we can to people and grow a network of useful people. We're not, and we've got a question today about training gurus, and we can maybe touch on that then. But let's get into these questions, guys, because I'm selfishly want to pick your brains on some of these things, but I also think it'd be good for our listeners just to hear probably some questions that go around in their head, and maybe some things they might not have thought of that could be critical when thinking forward to 2026. So let's throw this one around the room. What do you think the biggest risk to property developers is in 2026, Dorian? So a key risk to property developers.
Well, that was a good question. I think there's it depends which sector you're in, and depends which part of the UK you're in. So I don't want to get into nitty-gritty details, for example. But when I think of this question, in Wales right now, there's a political change going on. Obviously, it's the senators up for, at the moment, it's Labour, and it could be Reform, or it could be Plaid Cymru, or it could even be Labour again, or I doubt it's going to be Conservatives. But whoever it is, that is my biggest risk right now, because it's going to have a direct impact on my, the social housing targets, the funding that's allocated to it. So, yeah, I think, for me, that's my biggest risk, and that's what everything else just is subpar to that. So hopefully that goes well. Then, other than that, we still have the same risks that we can control, planning, etc. Like, we have a nitrates issue now down in Wales that is just not seeming to be resolved, which is holding up 2,000 homes.
I'd say those are known risks, right?
But they're known, as you say, between that planning, etc. But for me, very, very specifically, that's my biggest risk. And then for anybody else doing a development, all I would say is it's very hard. They should know their own sector, their own sub-market, to see what is that key thing for them.
Yeah. So you would say anyone out there, particularly in the social part of property development, where they may be reliant on government funding, whether that's coming through providers or direct from government, political rhetoric and the political landscape could change those funding lines and could be an underlying risk to those type of properties.
For me, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Stu, What would you say? Biggest risk to developers 2026?
Well, as soon as I see risk in 2026, I just think of the banking run. Really, I think the big problem for me is if there was a call on the banks and money becomes too volatile, then that could just knock everything out. It knocks people's jobs out. It knocks people's affordability out. It knocks so many things. It disrupts everything, really, the money system. And I do think this is the year that we could spike. I think it could go out of control. I mean, just look what's happened, obviously Iran and all the rest of it. But if you just look at the monetary policies of Venezuela, Argentina, Iran, India, Cyprus, like Turkey, all these currencies are going all over the place. They're printing so much. China, and I do fear that the UK is going to have to do the same to try and sort out so many of these problems that are so deep. To inject the country is that when you print a load more money, everything gets so volatile. Inflation could spike again. We could, they're obviously trying to keep rates fairly high, but I think the demand now is they need to lower rates, and then it affects everything. It affects every chain supply. Having some cash in the bank is going to be important, and I think it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath. I think because the planning system has been so difficult for the last few years. We've been in a declining market, so it's great for Dorian. He's rode out the hard bit where he was forward funding stuff in a high inflation environment where he's had to take a load of cuts. Now he's fixed things moving forward. If the market tanks, he doesn't really care too much. In fact, he actually gets more bricklayers looking for work. I mean, I've had more phone calls in the last week from contractors asking for business and for people to either to come back or to have a change around at the worst possible time. I've got a loft fitter who was with me for about 3 years, went done his own thing, and he's just called me yesterday saying, I rang at the wrong time. I should have rang you sort of Q3, Q4, but I've come at a bit of a sticky wicket where I am, and I need to change jobs and love working with you as an opportunity. But the trouble is I've just said yes to 2 more fitters who I've also known. So there's supply demand, right? That's a big issue. And I think it all comes down to the money and people either spending money and investing or moving. So we'll see, but that's my biggest risk at the moment. It's just not taking too many risks. I think taking risks moving forward, but not being stupid, not overpaying for stuff is the big one.
So more acute on your financials.
Yeah, just be aware of all the opportunities that, just look 6 months out, and I think there'll be a lot more opportunities out there. Unfortunately, through the demise of other people's misfortune is the problem. Now, I don't want to take advantage of anyone ever, but if someone's bought something and it's £250,000 overpriced now, and they've had a bit of a tough planning journey, they've not got consent for what they wanted, and the site's worth no more than what I was willing to pay for it 18 months ago, but they might be 200, 300, 400 grand underwater. You want to help them out. You want to try and do a JV. You want to try and do what you can, but I'm not one of those ones that are like a bottom feeder who like preys on people's misfortunes. It makes me feel sick for them, but that is the market. It's decisions they made, right?
Yeah. Well, I would somewhat agree with yours, but slightly more specific to Europe. I think one of the biggest risks, it may play out in 26, it may lag slightly, but there is a huge exodus of institutional capital from European bond markets, and we're already seeing the bond markets in the UK could flip at any moment. But I think Europe is just a calamity waiting to happen. And for any lunatics out there who thought we should have stayed in Europe, you're going to rue that decision, and you'll be grateful that Brexit happened, because we needed to make sure we had an insular economy
Well,
from
the UK's
Europe.
bailing them out, apparently, aren't we, with a payment?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how incompetent Europe is, and just the exodus of capital from those markets. But big capital, the big smart capital allocators, the family offices, the PE funds, the stuff that the media will not cover, because they know that means that the Brussels elite are going to suffer. But you can look up this stuff and you can see what's happening to capital flight. And I think the euro, and if the euro obviously collapses, which I think we're starting to see the sign. Well, we're already seeing the signs of. That's obviously going to have a huge impact on our exporting economy in the UK. So we need to do the best we can to have trade alliances in the Northern Pacific and with America. But I think there'll be a fallout there that could directly impact the UK in a big way. So thinking of banks and borrowing limits and things like that, just look at that as a proportion of your development pipeline, of your asset base. If you are risk on with highly leveraged short-term borrowing, and then you need to exit onto mortgages in a market where the bond market might get spooked again, then you could see a tightening up of lending. and then you could struggle to get out of your facilities or selling into the open market. So I just think it's a bit of a guess whether that happens this year. I think we may just see it get worse this year, and it may play out 28, 29. But it's not looking good for Europe at the moment politically, and the bond market and flight of capital is definitely a big issue. So that's that one. Similar topic, but more directly for business owners in general. What's the biggest risk to business owners in 2026? So it could be property business, could be any kind of business.
This is where I definitely agree with Stu's point, and that it's all about this year. I would say for business owners, it is really all about liquidity, basically being savvy, making sure you're reviewing your business model, getting your working capital position to a positive position if you can, being less reliant on debt if possible. But it is all about liquidity and cash flow to make sure you can trade through. If anything happens with the marketplace, it's just going to means trade slows for a bit because people hold sit on their hands again, and then. So if you can get yourself into a good position, both liquidity wise and exposure wise, you can ride out that storm. And then if opportunities come up because people start failing or there's a surge, you're prepared and ready to go.
Nice. Stu?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm just going through 3 refinances now on some of my earlier HMOs. I'm putting as much as I can. I actually disagree with the debt position. I think getting yourself in as much, this is not financial advice, short term, well, no, yeah, passive income debt that's being paid by tenants, but basically increasing my debt position because when they do print a load of money, which is inevitable, the debt that you hold is going to become weaker over time. So while they'll lend you against assets,
longer term fixed debt like that, that's
obviously, short term 7, 8, 10%.
Short term business financing,
avoid like the plague. Yeah, make sure you're liquid. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to build a bit of a cash position to take advantage of opportunities that turn up, and obviously you can pick A players, like we were talking about the ground up, having people when you are, never stop recruiting, never stop talking to people, and you'll be surprised who rings and what opportunities they're looking for, who have been following you and feel like they want a bit of a change and can make your business better. So never stop recruiting, look for talent all the time and just use the time to sharpen up, cut off dead systems, dead processes, dead staff that aren't going in the way you want, and just have a bit of you build in a bear market, I think. And if we're going into a sort of 2, 3, 4 year bear market, don't overbuild, don't overcommit, don't overspend. Just stay frugal, really.
Did you see that diagram that says that the 18-year cycle predictions, and the past few years has felt solid. It hasn't felt like it's been a boom since the post-COVID cash injection era, and but now it all feels like it's going to go south again. But I thought we were already at the bottom.
Yeah, but you're most bullish when it feels most bearish. So that's why you don't totally come out of the market. Just hang in there, hodl for dear life, and just ride it out. But if they do print the money, they're going to have to print, because all the money they printed through COVID has now got to be repaid. So we're in this 5-year cycle, and they gave everyone globally a year off. So where it runs in a 4-year money cycle, it's now over 5 years. This is going to throw a lot of people off who play in the money markets. Is that a lot's going to happen this year. What I thought was going to happen last year is now going to happen this year.
I think there is some hope there where America is just going from strength to strength. They're forecasted to print a Q4 6% GDP, which is just madness. That's nearly the top end growth
because they've taken over Venezuela's oil. No, I'm joking.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just inspiring growth into the economy. Trillions and trillions is going back into the industrial base.
Did you see how much money he said? He said they generated from the import tariff that from the resetting the tariffs from a US perspective. They said, well, I don't know. Basically, I watched that video. Trump said they're just basically making so much money now.
But it's not just from the tariffs. It's not just from the tariff revenue. It's from the incentive of big capital allocators like TSMC, who are putting 200 odd billion into chip fabs in America, and all of that's creating all this rapid growth. But the reason I say that point is because it will help stabilize the dollar globally, and that keeps trade a bit more liquid and fluid, which could help in a world where there's more localized pressures on things like the pound and the euro and the yen and things like that. So hopefully we see some stability there. I would just say
Oh, go on, Ryan. Go on. Go.
Go on, D. Tell me what you think.
No. Usually, because you're just talking about America and chips and all that sort of stuff. See, there's a lot of talk. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But when, if at all, do you think the AI bubble? One, do you think it is an AI bubble? And when, if at all, do you think it will burst? And what do you think will happen?
Well, the interesting thing is if AI, I think the initial rush of AI is going to accelerate GDP and economic growth. It will accelerate everything, but the consequence of a deflationary technology means prices come down, which and consumption can only be we only have so much human consumption, not necessarily in pounds, but in terms of electrons, at least for now, in terms of how much energy we can consume, there is some kind of human limit. So I can't imagine that this deflationary technology can propagate to an exponential and retain an exponential curve on GDP growth. There must become a GDP lag and the GDP downslide because of this exponential technology that creates exponential abundance, and people just can't earn enough money to pay for it, and because it gets so cheap, it's just where does the economy kind of start and end? And I think there's going to be we're going to have to value the economy in a different way. GDP will no longer work. It'll be something more like GDP per electron, like how many electrons do we consume, how much energy per capita are we allowed for, which then will be represented in abundance of resources, as opposed to a financial metric, because finance may not be a worthy instrument to measure people's well-being in the not too distant future. So there's going to be a huge change, and I think how governments have to measure things. Not sure what you guys think of that, but
Yeah, it's deep, man. It's when electricity becomes free, and the price of tomorrow. Jeff Booth, the book I spoke about on my pitch. But yeah, it talks about everything becoming cheaper over time if measured in a different currency. And obviously, you're in a credit-based system where everything goes up and up and up. It's manufactured to go up because GDP increases, the debts have to be repaid. If the states are at 38 trillion and they're going to 39 trillion now, and they're going to print another 6 trillion, it gives everyone the golden ticket to print their currency at the same volume, so the same ratios, so everything on the surface looks the same, the exchange rates look the same, but there's more velocity in the system. That then means that goods and services, the price of a cup of coffee, the price of houses all go up, and there's a cap now. They can't really push the housing market up anymore because it's so unaffordable for so many. If you look at every sort of every major city around the world, it is all already unaffordable. Look at Denmark, America.
That runs on the assumption that monetary units are the key arbiter to global stability and success. But I think with that additional surplus that's getting injected into technology, electrons are kind of going to take the place of those monetary units, because electrons are, it's atoms, it's moving, they help move atoms. And I think if we see that in such an abundant way, it will dissolve the whole concept of a monetary economy. It will be a different type of economy, and we have to measure it.
I need to brush up on my science. I don't know what's going on here. It's like
Let's get
Jimmy
back to it.
Neutron explaining
Energy is
economics.
the new currency. Electricity is the new currency. That's what basically we're working into an electrified economy now. So the amount more energy and more.
What's the best way to monetize electricity, Stu?
We'll be walking around with lamps, will we?
Best way to balance the
Can you
grid,
pay for
mate. There's
this?
only one
Bitcoin.
monetary system that is cheaper than anything else, and that is
This is why
the one
Bitcoin
and
could
only.
be. It's why it feeds straight into Bitcoin's hands. It's an interesting play, but we're starting to get into like monetary science and stuff. We're not exactly sure what could happen there, but I think Bitcoin is.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's the silent revolution, and I feel more confident about talking about this because when I was talking about it pre-event, you just don't know if you're talking to people going, for God's sake, would he shut up? But when half the room put their hand up when I said understands Bitcoin, is buying it regularly, and loves what this new monetary policy is, when half the room went up, I went, right, we're fighting a good fight here. Let's continue to talk about the benefits of Bitcoin. Let's bring Dorian into the 21st century, and let's not try and leave any man or woman or child behind the old system.
Good.
That is the mission now. That is the mission.
People love that. They love that breakup from talking about property to just talk about something so completely different.
But it's the world's best digital property, which is why we talk about it, because it's property. We understand assets rise. We just don't understand why assets rise. And until you educate yourself on the monetary policy and what happens in the world you've been brainwashed to thinking is money, and then you realize there's a whole paradigm shift that you can learn about. It's addictive and it's super fun to learn.
Piecing into that conversation we would just have about a flip from a monetary economy to an electron-driven economy. Bitcoin is, through the mining and the protocol, and there's a lot of stuff behind Bitcoin that makes it Bitcoin. That is a way to regulate those electrons and a way to have scarcity in a world of abundance. And it may just be that currency is something that is used, whether it's for economic benefit or political benefit or voting rights or something. There'll be a play for Bitcoin because it's the only way to do it. The fiat system doesn't work. It can't do it in the same way. It's on old Cobalt mainframes where you could just print as much as you want. You just can't do that with Bitcoin. So it's a very interesting future coming ahead.
The deepest level my brain can get to is that you'll be able to put Bitcoin into a car, and in a deflationary world, the Bitcoin never loses value. So you'll be able to put Bitcoin, which is energy, into a car and never have to pay for the car again, because the Bitcoin inside the car will run the energy of the car. That's the sort of the deep as I can go in terms of where I think this new world goes. It's mad, but you have to do a lot of reading. You have to surround yourself with a lot of people who understand this, because we are literally 0.1% of the population, 0.01% of the population that are trying to understand it. So there's a long way to go, and everyone's so early. We're super early on this change, but I can't see any other alternative. So,
amen, sister. Let's get back to questions. I've got my one take on this, which is slightly different, is for biggest risk to business owners in 26 is creeping unit costs. And I think it's something that business owners can get complacent on. You've got higher taxes. We've had crazy amounts of inflation. We've got high energy costs. You've got a slightly more scarce consumer market. There are unit cost increases that you may not be directly aware of. That may not necessarily be material and labor driven. There could be other aspects around your overheads of your business, around the supply demand curve in your business, that are creating higher marketing costs proportionate to unit sales and things like that. And I think people have to start getting really quirky on how they're saving unit costs. Is something we're very focused on as a business, to try and make sure we can reduce unit costs as much as possible so that we can create margin spread without needing to increase prices. And then there's increasing prices. So I think unit economics is already very important over what's happened the last few years, but to stabilize yourself in the 2026 run, I think unit costs and trying to reduce where you can, getting clever with how you're distributing overheads, offshoring aspects if you can, remote workers, things like that. I think that is where a lot of businesses need to start going. Unfortunate for things like restaurants and hospitality sectors where you're very, kind of labor intensive, but find ways to be more effective on your marketing, to be more effective on your pricing and on your sales, on package stuff, on affiliates. And I think that's going to be quite a big play this year, particularly with taxes that are shooting up and are going to shoot up again, unemployment and things like that. So that's what I'd say to business owners broadly. Okay, so for us individually, guys, this is about your business specifically. What's a key hire or resource that you'll need or really want this year? What's something you're thinking of, Stu?
I've got a couple. Well, just what we're talking about, really. Integrating AI into the business is something that I don't want to just shy away from, because it'll be too late. Our competitors will be doing it and thinking about it, and obviously taking advantage and early movement in this, whether it's the design. I mean, we're already doing it, to be honest. We're working with using AI to help do 3D renders, 3D walk rounds. We're going to double down on the lofts this year. So I need to really focus on the pipeline and how we're going to get in front of more bodies. Build a bit of a sales team, I think, to try and relieve a bit of the pressure for me having to run around and be everywhere in the front end of the machine. So I think I'm ready to scale that up again, and keep control of money, really, making sure that we don't overspend, we don't overcommit. It can be very easy in the development world to have a $7,000 bill, a 30 grand bill, a 20 grand bill, a 10 grand bill, a 5 grand bill, a 20 grand bill, and they all stack up. And obviously we've been lucky to this point because we've sort of got out of hot water and we've dug ourselves out of holes by being frugal and sensible in the past. We've made risks that balance the amount of cash flow we've had. We've had to leave a few $100,000 into one of our sites, which is great. It's cash flowing and it's a good investment. Would we have done it any other way? We could have sold the building, but we've done it. So we've had taken a few hits last year, but we're in a market that's declining, and we all know it's just secular. So we all know that in 4, 6, 8, 10 years time, if in the fiat world, if they're going to print shitloads more money, these things are going to be worth 4, 8, 10, 12, 30 million pound properties. But you still need cash to survive tomorrow. So yeah, cash control is important as well. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. AI, sales and cash, pretty much the three main metrics of business, really.
Nice.
Never take your eye off the ball.
And D, what's a key hire or resource this year, mate?
Yeah, good. So I'm currently bringing on a FD which is key because we're currently going through and in conversations with some institutional funding, so trying to get a large funding line over the line. Coming back to the point we was talking about earlier about getting a capital structure in place, and stable is important. So that's quite big because there's a lot of work we need to do. And also the other key areas really for me is just land people in West Midlands, Southwest, because twin tracking with this capital raise, I just want to go all out in what I'm doing and trying to just bring in deals, pipeline of deals, baby. Let's go. Land people, deals, money, right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. Whoop.
Hey, yep. Love that, mate. Okay, nice. I'd say for me, it's one of those, isn't it? You ask a business owner this question, you could think of like a million different things that you want to bring in, but the key ones, definitely. I brought in some key people last year that should be playing out this year. So I'd say for me to make sure the London move works and get the office up and running, the key one for me is bringing on more top quality consultants to help on the capital raising. That's I want to be a team of 8 in London. Ideally, by the end of summer would be nice. Get the office just before summer and have that team stabilized in there, and a team that's capable of raising 10 to 20 million a month would be where I'd want to get to. I.e., the team may not be achieving that this year, but that is a team that is capable of achieving that. And then I just need to nurture that team, nurture their pipeline. And I shouldn't need many more.
What's your
hires.
capital raise target for this year?
So we have month on month now, we have about 10 million of equity come to the table. So qualified equity. So last month was actually 12 million. This year, this month, we're on track to actually beat that already. But that's qualified equity coming to the table. We're doing things like we're going to start creating monthly investor days where we take a tour bus round and people can come up and see us. And that way makes it more efficient compared to individual tours, but we can also make a full day of it. So what can we do with that 12 million coming to the table a month? How can we get more and more of that over the line? But also, how can we turn that into 20 million? Turning it to 20 million is just a case of increasing the resource in that area. But how can we convert more of that equity is the key. But also, repeat business. We'll start to stack up on what is already stacking up, but we'll start to massively stack up on that over time.
Have you got the jobs in line to service that amount of interest? What do you need to focus on? Finding more deals?
We'll always need to focus on finding more deals. But I've got most of the key team members in there on the delivery side. So the construction now has a very good brain to it, with Richard, who's just come in as managing director of that business now. There's obviously Kane's already there in a commercial sense. We've got John there now as contracts manager, Gary on procurement, who's shit hot, like seriously good resource. And then we've got Emma's on the admin, and then 3 site managers. We're employing another site manager. So the team is there to, like, the brain is there
Service
now
it.
to stabilize that construction aspect. The refurbs and domestic stuff, I need to bring in another senior head at some point this year, but I'm not too concerned about the trickiness of finding that hire. And lettings just keeps propagating like over time anyway. So I'm not overly worried. Acquisitions, but we get, with a lot of noise that we create, we get quite a lot of business coming to us. So I'm not too worried about the delivery side now compared to I was at the start of last year.
Point is more cash, more capital. That's your accelerator, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's always going to be the lifeblood of our business, is raising more capital. But the thing is the repeat business. Raise capital this year, 50% of it may come back next year anyway, on top of the new raises. So it's a very healthy model in that way, because that's diluting obviously initial costs of the clients. So we're set up very well this year, but definitely need more consultants. Next question. Curveball prediction for 2026. What's a curveball prediction? Something people might not necessarily be thinking about. Obviously, we've talked about quite a few topics here already, AI and other stuff. So let's try and avoid AI as a curveball prediction, because we've got some other questions on that. What is a curveball that could be happening this year? I'm actually not sure myself, so I need to think about this. Stu, curveball prediction.
I just the money side, mate. I think Bitcoin will double before the middle of the year, and it will crash to 50% down, and it will be the talk of the town. But I just that has a massive impact. That's not a good thing for the world we all live in. I don't know. I just think it's going to spike. I think it's going to go out of control. I think you're going to have Western worlds, Western countries. I think the States will lose control. The Euro's going to lose control, and so's the Bank of England and the Bank of Japan. I think it's just going to spiral. What I thought was going to happen last year, I think it's going to happen this year. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know what repercussions are going to come off that. But
D, curveball prediction. Any curveballs?
Yeah, it's a good point because obviously I don't know about you guys, but just there always has been, but at the moment with news publicising it so much, there seems to be a lot of tension in the world right now, isn't it? I mean, the biggest curveball is that everything implodes and we end up into World War III. The second big curveball is that the AI bubble pops and then there's carnage. Or the third curveball is, as you say, the monetary system it goes nuts. We do end up in a massive decline and everything becomes what we thought was hard over the past few years was actually easy, and the hard time has to come. Those are the negative curveballs. The positive curveballs are literally the flip side of the coin. Actually, there's a big bull market, and money just feels like free flowing, and deals finally everything seems to click, and everything we touch turns to gold, like that typical bull market period, which, to be honest with you, I could do with a bit of that right now.
can we all?
Okay, I'm gonna go slightly more specific. Curveball. I'm taking a bit of a stab here. I think this is an inevitable anyway over time, but I think we'll start to see some very serious conversations about the viability of higher education, with the increase in AI, with the difficulty, particularly in our economy and for young people. The employment for young people is at an all-time low. I think we're going to start to see serious conversations about the viability of higher education in the UK, and the particular institutional faculties like Cambridge, like Oxford, like Durham, are going to come into the spotlight and be questioned on how useful are these now for people trying to seek higher education, for the purposes of gaining a career. And I think there'll be conversations about how these institutions need to gear for a future of continuous education and reform of the workforce, as opposed to go and learn a curricula for 3-4 years, take out loads of debt and do it this way. I think we're going to start to see conversations about how these institutions need to be redesigned, because there's just no way it's sustainable, and particularly not with the pace of AI growing. So I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think it's going to start. We're going to start seeing murmurings to these conversations, starting to question some of the oldest institutions in our country and some of the best institutions in the world. They've gone slightly woke, which is a bit of a problem, a massive problem. But I think the actual underlying principle of those universities, the product, the service they offer, I think will massively come into question in the face of AI, low youthful employment, and the tricky economy. So yeah, bit of a curveball, slightly different to Bitcoin and AI, but still a lagging.
But it's not actually, because instantly it's a cash cow for the governments to get everyone into a credit-based system, get them straight out of school, straight into debt, and then spend the next 30 years of your life paying off the debt. So it's all smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. So yeah, that's all going to expose itself in the light of day of the new revolution.
The revolution's coming. All right, now goals. One key goal you want to achieve this year. So that could ideally a metric or a position or something. So we're looking for something detailed, guys. What's one key goal? Could be a project, a specific project. D, I know you've just landed a record project. Congratulations, by the way, on hitting record after record.
Oh, do you know what's funny that is? Because we did that, and I literally went into the office the next day, and I was talking to the team, and I was like, right, any news, guys? Anything happening? Any new deals we're doing? And they just looked at me and say, we just completed on that one yesterday. And my mind like, I forgot. I was like, what's, all right. Oh, we did. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, but what about the next one? Yeah.
How do we beat it again?
Terrible. I'm terrible. Yeah.
Go on, what's a goal for this year? A key goal for you, mate?
I've got 4.
Okay. Do it.
In different sectors of your mind, yeah? Personal, work.
I've got them too, if you want. I mean, for the business point of view, like in terms of our main business plan, consistently delivering 300 to 500 homes per annum across Wales and expanding across the UK, delivering social and affordable housing for those on the waiting list that are truly in need because we're the Batman of society. That is all still in play. The biggest goal to achieve that is to really resort the capital structure out. So my goal for the year is to do that. The biggest one, raise 10 million, maybe 20 million, would depend how it goes. But at the moment, just deal with that and just get everything working like it should be, which is good. And I think I can now this year because everything's have all settled down in the marketplace, and I'm having really good talks. In terms of my personal life, the other big goal I have is I want to finish my helicopter pilot license. So I do that, and I've made the key three: the sleep, food, well, sort of diet. Sorry, sleep, diet, and exercise. I just want to make sure I keep on top of those as well. So
Yeah, fair play.
Love it. Stu?
Exercise, diet would be a good one for me to add because I've really gone off the last 6 months of really just the kids' food, man. Yeah, I know it's Christmas diet, but yeah, no, yeah, diet and health definitely a good one. Getting this house sorted out as well. Personally, I want to get all the planning through, get everything geared up. Got pretty good relationship with the neighbours now, so I'm ready to show them the grand plans. That's quite high on my agenda because the missus is getting quite comfortable with the house as it is, and it ain't staying this way. So
yeah,
she thinks it's very charming, and I'm not settling for that. The roof's coming off whether we like it or not. The business goals will be to build a sales team, a small sales team that's dynamic, that we're trying to stay frugal with our money, and we're going to obviously capitalize on our lots of recommendations and referrals that we get. I don't want to let go of them because they're quite valuable, but now's the time to free up some time so we can start really taking advantage of the market for the summer, which I think when the bloodbath's going to happen. And my key goal is really to nail a 30 to 40 unit scheme, one scheme that we can work and put everything we've learned over the last 3 or 4 years into the whole development process. So I want to make sure we nail each department and potentially sell it. So we come in, we do what we're good at, and we sell it, and we make a decent profit where we can then scale that up for 2027, 2028, and up until retirement, really. That will be the key goal, is just to put everything, all the lessons we've learned bits on different sites, and we've made mistakes on different sites. And I think that we're in that position now where we're going to take it all, rebuild the whole process, and try and build a bit of a sausage factory to make some decent money in this game, because I think you can, but everyone looks from the outside in thinking it's easy, and it's bloody nice. Everyone thinks developers make decent money, and you can if you get it absolutely
yeah,
nailed.
they do. They do.
And it's so funny, but
really
everyone
do,
else
don't they?
apart from the developer makes money, and they take all the risk, and it's a tough old game. But I'd love to smash it, and that would be a key goal for me.
Beautiful. Mine's quite simple. I want to raise 5 million of equity in a single month. So I think the closest we got was just about 3 million last year, and we had a big hitter that came in 1 month plus all the smaller investors. But I want to get to have a month where we've secured 5 million of equity. That would be nice at some point. I reckon it'll happen by some point in the summer. So yeah, that's my goal.
Off the back of that, what do you guys? What you should? I don't know if you follow this process, but you have your goal, but really you should have a 90-day goal. What's the one thing you focus on for the next 90 days?
Restructuring our management accounts. That is my main goal.
Yeah, get more visibility across all of your businesses. Yeah,
Yeah, visibility and controls. Yeah.
planning is planning in, Stu.
No, I've got to get the missus to sign the elevations off yet. We're still working on the details, the hanging tile color, the oak frames, everything. It needs to be signed off. So and there's no good time for it because life just gets in the way. So that's a short-term goal, is just to get the thing signed off and into the cancel. But yeah, in Skylofts will be to just to restructure, clear up last year, get everything ready to start this year on a good stead, and to basically keep the continuation. The last 2 months have been exceptional for deals. Like, we're almost going to pretty much double the size of our business if it keeps going the way we are. So we need to stay growth focused and just put the right people in place. The Skylofts, yeah, which is basically the front. That's the engine of the whole thing, because that's what supports the developments for us. It supports the infrastructure,
The
allows
cash
us
engine,
to take more risks. Yeah, it's the cash engineering, exactly. So we can keep that in a good positive frame, then we can.
And I think that's great. I mean, we all talk about it, but Stuart, you've really got the living proof and example of having your investment business and development business, but behind it all is a cash engine, a business that pays the bills, pays your personal life, that supports a team that you can leverage into those other businesses when you need to, that can help you get out of trouble if those things, which they inevitably do, go into short-term dips. I mean, that really is like that key anchor, isn't it, Stu? Would you agree?
100%. I mean, like Meg, who's been on maternity leave, she was here yesterday. I wasn't here, but she was with Charlotte having a catch up. She's coming back early June, but she can come back into her old position. But that old position's got 2 other people doing the job that used to be with us prior anyway, and they're doing a really good job. And they're hungry for it. They're young mums. They both work 4-day weeks, but they're doing 5-day weeks over 4. And one works Monday to Thursday, one works Tuesday to Friday. And we've got like a little dynamo team in the pre-build. They're just craving more work. They want more jobs. The systems are built. We've gone back to things we used to do 3 or 4 years ago when they were with us, and they just implement them. And it's like the heavens have opened. I've gone, oh my God, we've missed all this. Like, these are bits that we've just forgot to do that we didn't value, and now I value them more than ever. So it's like, it just gives you that drive to go, right, we can double down now. And then when Meg gets back, she'll be able to do all of the asset management, look after all the stuff that I'm sinking under. So I've just got to get to June, get to the summer, and then if we can nail up one of these big jobs, then I think we'll be unstoppable in Hampshire, Surrey, Berkshire. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Look at that, Stu. 10 years to be an overnight success, eh?
Yeah, I know, mate. It takes a long time. Or 7-year cycles is what it is. I was just thinking that this morning in the shower, I'm almost like a 7-year cycle ahead of you guys, which is why when we were saying about the work-life balance, the second and first to second year, 7-year cycles are super growth, and then like third, fourth, you restructure to exit, which is another option. So we could package it up to potentially exit over the next 7 years. But yeah, I'm like a whole 7-year cycle ahead of you guys, which be interesting to track the difference, what happens over that time.
Yeah, mate. That is an interesting point. Bank of England rate prediction by year end. So we're at 3.75 at the moment, and we've got 4 more cuts until then. What do we think the BOE will end on this year, boys? This is, of course, a crystal ball, but I just want to see what your instincts are.
Whatever the states do, really, whatever the Fed do, it's free. I reckon it'll end up 3.25. I don't think it has to come down huge amounts. I mean, the Fed are pushing for more, aren't they? So they've got 6 trillion to refinance and pay debt on. So the cheaper they can get it, the better. But whatever they do, we'll copy to keep the smoke and mirrors all looking like a beautiful swell on the surface. Everyone's actually paddling around trying to stay afloat underneath. So
what do you think?
3.25.
To be fair, yeah, I don't. I was going to say roughly. I was going to say the same as Stuart, but just to be different, I'm going to go more bullish, 3%.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say 3, so I'm with you. I don't think it will. 2.75 lowest, and that's an optimistic view, and that would mean them probably dropping a 0.5 blip at some point, which would only happen under a fairly extreme scenario. So I think 3 is most likely. I think you could assume a 3. 3.25 is probably more realistic, but yeah, hopefully a 3 by the end of the year. If it goes below that,
This is a what do you call it? A black swan event where they've got to bring them down. You've got to drop it by 1.5%. Yeah, war. Yeah,
could happen. Yeah, or the euro collapsing, or something. All right, next one. Political prediction for 2026. Stu, what do you think? Because we're in a sketchy place politically. I don't know about you guys. I feel like I live in fucking Orwell 19.
Labour fucking get booted off, get ousted. We have to go do a what's it called? I think election. A spike. Is it a spike election? When they just do it automatically.
Spot election.
Oh, they just basically they just say, "Well, we're going to do it." I just can't see him lasting the year. I couldn't see him lasting the year last year. I mean, this is getting embarrassing now with all these U-turns he's making. I know it's just embarrassing how his backbenchers actually go out there and go on the telly and try and support him. It's just embarrassing for him, the whole party. I know everyone's sort of thinking Reform are going to make it, but I'm sort of going to think Conservatives are going to get back in, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Or it would be a what's it called? Coalition, yeah, where Farage gets himself on the table as sort of deputy. Would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I just can't see Labour doing another year. We'll see what happens at the spring budget.
Interesting you said that. I have a very specific prediction of what I think is going to happen, and it's somewhat similar. D, what do you think will happen politically?
Well, there is a big political event in Wales right now, which I know you guys, I think, because we have a different parliament cycle compared to England. So this is hot topic right now in Wales, and at the moment Labour are in power, but all the polls suggest that they ain't going to be in power, which would be the first time in Wales for forever. Like that would be a massive, massive event if they don't get back into power, and they at one point, Reform was leading in the polls, which everybody, because no one knows what that would be like. But at the moment, the latest poll shows that Plaid Cymru is leading in the polls, which which are a bit more left again. So I'll be that they would probably want to turn Wales, but as they call it, into a nation of sanctuary. So their policies on immigration, all that sort of stuff would be probably even more extreme than Labour's. But from a business point of view, the theory is that there'll be a lot more houses need to be built. So they've got more ambitious targets for social and affordable housing. And
I was going to say, you want more left-wing politics, right? Because you want more left-wing politics because it gives you more of a budget. Yeah, it survives on it.
My business thrives on that sort of left-wing politics stuff. So
government handout.
Yeah, I think for me, whether it's Labour or Plaid Cymru, my business, particularly because it's social, affordable, and disabled led, it's going to do quite well. Theory.
All right, my prediction, yeah, and I said this. I spoke about this in November with the guys internally, and I still stick to this prediction because of how much I think Rupert Lowe is our only option to save the country. Rupert Lowe is independent, right? And he's done that strategically, and he's said about how he's done this strategically, so he can retain his independence, build Restore as a almost a marketing piece, as a brand that talks through policy and helps use public awareness to force through policy in the major parties. He's done that so that he can stay on the fence as to where he puts his eggs when it comes to it. And what I think will happen is there will certainly be a coalition forced on both sides of the fence, on the left and the right, because Labour are fucked and they have no choice but to create. But they have the seats, and I think there'll be a coalition with the Greens and the Lib Dems that will give them a larger voting demographic and the strength of the seats they want. That will force the right to have to do the same. So Reform and the Tories are going to have to form a coalition. They don't really have a choice. And obviously the Tories come with a bit more legacy, more deeper ties into the civil service and things like that, and Reform need that. But the Tories, I don't think will ever accept Farage as PM. So I'm certain Rupert Lowe at that point will make his strategic move to work with the Tories to bring in the popular vote of Reform, create a coalition where Rupert Lowe sits at the top, and Rupert Lowe will be our next PM. Do I think that'll happen in 2026? I can't see Labour making it. I just cannot see how the public don't burn the streets down with the way that Starmer's moving this government. So if it happens, I think we'll see a quick manoeuvring.
One devil's advocate on that, which typically happens just with if you think about the time scale, right? So providing nothing happens, as Stuart says, where they get overturned mid-term, what really the public's mind is like a goldfish. Yeah, it is, and we live in the now moment. And once the Labour Party got in, they're basically in until 2029, effectively. Yeah, 2029. And if they've got another 2 years from now before they really need to start bringing in good policies. And in the last year, if they don't get overturned, all they need to do is start bringing in some really good stuff in the next after 18 months from now. And that's how they would bring it back. And just playing devil's advocate, and now we're just because they will, when they get closer to 2029, they're going to change their campaign to start pleasing the public again. So
you're assuming that it's only political rhetoric that has any weight here. The economy, taxation, the exodus of millionaires and jobs, the lowest unemployment for youth, like these things don't last. And also the Orwellian society they're trying to create with the digital ID that's been somewhat backbenched, this new stuff about banning X, about access to, in April, they're pushing for access to all of our private communication channels so government can monitor everything we say on anything. on any platform in the UK, they're going to instigate a massive backlash from the
I
people.
agree, but unless something happens in terms of absolute civil turmoil, they're not going to get kicked out realistically. But if they did, like Stuart said, then yeah. But other than that, the other guys got no chance again until 2029, and by then, God knows what they could change.
Yeah, I mean that's a scary thought.
That whole list you just read off there, and this whole problem is because they're all desperate to print more money. Printing money solves all those problems short term, which is that feeling you get, like you said, the goldfish mind of the public is that as soon as you print money, everyone goes, oh, we're back in the bull market. We can now be secure in our jobs. We can invest. We can buy holidays, goods and services. They're all waiting for the Fed to do it. All the governments are. So the US control this lever, which they are waiting. They're silently printing money. China's printing money. Their M2's gone through the roof. But as soon as the Fed do it, we'll then go, right, that's it, pressure's off. And but then inflation comes again and the whole wave starts again over the next sort of 4 years. So yeah, it's mad to watch. It's crazy.
Let's see what happens, boys. But yeah, there's some predictions. Last two things. I know you've got to shoot, D, but come on, last two things.
I've got to catch a train, so otherwise I'm going to be late for London.
They'll wait. Call ahead.
Oh wait, yeah, just turn
really fast.
AI prediction for 2026, D. Come on, hit it. Let's go. AI prediction 2026.
To the moon.
The moon, baby.
No, I think as you guys have said before, we're just gonna for us as a business, we're trying to utilize. Obviously, construction is slower moving in AI than most sectors. So we're on the pulse with it, mainly from an admin point of view, though, and like helping efficiencies. But nothing dramatically for us is going to happen in terms of AI for the next 12 months.
Okay, then let me hit you with this last one because you'll probably have to go. Me and Stu will answer both of them. What do you think happens to property gurus in the face of AI?
I think there'll be more gurus.
Interesting.
I think there'll be more of them.
Gurus. So you think there'll be more of them?
I think because
they'll be more competitive.
There's already a low barrier to entry anyway. But if you think what AI will do, it will help improve their efficiency of marketing, improve their efficiency of copywriting, help them structure their thought process. I think there's going to be a lot more gurus publishing books just off the back of AI, and then you just read through and change the words. I think there'll be a lot more training programs, a lot more marketing stuff, and it's all going to be AI driven. A lot more automatic funnels, and it's just going to be more of them because there's a low barrier to entry to sell a training course. All you need to do, I'm going to simplify it. I know there's a lot to it, but if I wanted to start selling courses, I could literally get off the phone now and start. That's a low barrier to entry business, and AI will really just help more people do those types of businesses. It might saturate the market, but
I was going to say it might drive costs down, though, right? It might drive some costs down. They can't charge 12 grand, then they might charge 3 grand instead. You know what I mean? All right, cool. All right, me and Stu will do the same thing. But for now, D, thank you, mate. Catch your train.
Yes,
enjoy London. D. Have a good week,
Bonjour.
Mate. Bonjour. Well, au revoir.
See you, mate.
AI prediction for 2026. Thinking market impacts, Stu. What do you reckon?
I hope that there is some software that comes out that I can just plug my internet in, my email, my phone book, my text messages, all my Instagrams, all my social medias into one agent that just basically runs my life for me, tells you what I'm doing, where I should go, how to use my time more efficiently. A bit like when Facebook turned up and like it just changed the way that we would all communicate. I'm hoping that if it's 2026, 2027, I'm just waiting for that massive aha bit of software that goes, right, plug me in. I would want total ownership of it, which is the other problem. And that's what blockchain helps, is that basically I would buy a piece of real estate on a blockchain that allows me to have ownership of everything on there. So no central government can control and see everything I'm doing. It's all done through blockchain technology. And I can't wait for the day where you just plug everything in and it'll go, right, you need to do this at 10:30, this at 12 o'clock. The best use of time would be to go and do that by 1 o'clock, move this to 1:30 and just get the most out of it. I mean, some people think it's brain numbing and it's taking a lot of the manual pressure off of the business. I think that will change the way that we all operate and communicate forever, which will be great because it will obviously free up. You'll see all your gaps in your schedule and go, well, actually, you've got another 40% capacity here. What do you want to do? You want to go fishing or go for a run? Or do you want some quality time with your daughter? What do you want to do with it? And that will just help you give ultimately a better quality of life.
those toolkits for efficiency gains are definitely going to be a massive. They're just going to keep improving and improving things. I think a slightly quirky prediction, which is again another inevitable, but I think we're going to see the first signs of white collar knowledge workers, accountants, solicitors, brokers, bankers, analysts. We're going to start to see those guys get scared. Doesn't mean there's going to be less of them. It means the price competitiveness of their salary is going to be challenged. And I don't think we're going to see loss of jobs there just yet, because as this technology gets cheaper, there'll be more of a demand from companies like me and you will be able to afford an analyst then. It'll be like affording an admin who's leveraged by an AI toolkit. So it doesn't mean we'll have less analysts, but I think we'll start to see them push back against what was once, an intellectual pursuit and prowess to now a commoditized, very straightforward toolkit you can plug in, where you still want a human engagement with it. So it doesn't necessarily mean a loss of jobs, but I think we'll see a pushback from that knowledge work, white collar sector, who are kind of going, what the I trained for 7 years to be a solicitor, and now a paralegal can come in and use this all-knowing AI, and it's basically just as good as I am, or it's better. So I now can't get paid that £1 per hour that I used to be able to get, and I
knows
have
more.
the cachet of this law firm. And yeah, exactly. So I think we're going to start to see those signs, and that's going to really start to shift economics of businesses, because the access to the best legal practices and accountants is going to be readily abundant.
And on the flip side, the blue collar jobs are going to triple, quadruple,
Exactly. Plumbers,
6x in value. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone will become a plumber again, and then
Yeah.
universities and colleges will become more manual based. Things that AI can't do are the 21st century jobs to be doing. You can
Yeah,
charge
the
£1,000 a day to go and
humanities.
fix a leaky tap.
Yeah, labor and humanity, as in labor with your hands, and the humanities are going to become massive sectors again, like as in terms of pound per hour. And then, what do you think happens to property gurus in the face of AI? We've heard D's interpretation, which I think is a good one. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a good point. I was thinking, it surely eliminates the gurus, in inverted commas, gurus that aren't gurus, that just are very surface level, understand the theory behind property development, and then just leverage and sell the very shallow level of what the system is. That development level is worthless. You can learn it on YouTube. It's the depth and the knowledge of being on site, learning with real life problems, that is where the value's at, and that's what people see in the network. And what they join is they want to hear the stories and the horror stories and the things that went wrong, and the how did you get yourself out of it. And I think AI will help that surface level. It'll pull the pants down on people who haven't got any depth about them and go, well, you can learn all this quite quickly. So what are you actually selling? What is your service for $3,000 or 12 grand or 1,500 quid? I mean, I don't agree with any of it. I think that, you should cover your time if you're consultancy, but don't package up surface level bullshit and then try and sell it. It doesn't help anyone.
I think I agree with D that more people may try it, but I think it's just going to massively erode the margins because of a more supply demand, isn't it? More people, more offerings, the cheaper it gets. And I think what we'll see is people really looking for the ground up network type of model, where it's a support model. It's not about learn this theory, good luck, out into the world you go, thanks for your 12 grand. That stuff's just going to be easy to understand. The hard bit is you're on site and you're dealing with nuance and you're dealing with difficulty, and you want experienced people who can give you that support, and in business and in hiring and just key decisions. And I think that's where we're playing into the hands of AI and the dissemination of intelligence and knowledge in our sector nicely, because we're offering a low value ticket where people come in and get support. That's what they're there for, a support and a network of trusted resources, as opposed to here's like some gamified 10-hour theoretical course on something that you yourself haven't even done, Mr. Guru. You're just taking it from a theory book, or you might have done one development, realized it was really difficult, and went, do you know what? I'll just take some of that high level stuff and I'll teach it, as opposed to where's your scars and your war stories, where you've got, just all these nuggets you can peel off from experience and pain. And that's what I think people are going to really want. They're going to want people like us who are transparent, happy to say, look, mate, you're in a shit situation. Like, you're going to really struggle getting out of this one. So behave defensively and do this and put this provision in instead. That's what you're going to have to do. It's not necessarily you're going to make £1 million and get a Ferrari. Like, all that stuff I think is going to be washed away a bit over the next.
Selling training courses is 1,000 times easier than being a property developer, like at least 1,000. But basically, for the people that I've seen on Instagram and all the rest of it, they're the storytellers. They sell this theoretical, this is what can happen, all this money you can make, but you've just paid me 1,500 quid to 12 grand for me to tell you a story. And thanks for that, because I'll fly my private plane and buy my Lamborghini with your money. You can go and take all the risks. Thank you very much. And they just rinse, repeat. And it's just, yeah, I've never been on one, so I don't know what they're like, but I can just tell by the stories that come out. And then they go, well, I didn't understand what sang was, or I didn't understand what the seal was. I didn't know how to pay for this. It's like, oh, come on, man. This is like level one, this is level one theory. It's fine to not know it, but don't charge someone for what you do know, which is very shallow, and not actually have any depth about the subject you're talking about.
It's good for market entrants. People who have no idea about property, it's good to go and do a course. Like, of course it is. Go and read some books and things like that. It shouldn't cost you 12 grand, but it's good to go and consume a load of knowledge so you understand the strategies. You get a basic understanding of the product, of the model. It's the same if you went into any sector. Like that is a good thing. But I think AI is just going to make that so cheap that you don't need to do that.
You shouldn't have to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to need to pay for, like, Grok can give you nowadays, or ChatGPT can give you that. It's the support. It's that actually I've committed capital to a project and now I've come up with this issue, and it's how you deal with that issue, because you can have a theory on how to deal with it, but there might be 10 different ways to deal with it. And what's best for your position and your capital and your resources. And like, it's just so nuanced that the support aspect is where I think the money will be made in the guru world, which ultimately they can't do because they're gurus.
If Grok can tell you your legal position of where you stand in a situation and give you 3 different alternatives better than a solicitor can, it can certainly explain what a BRR is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, look, that was a good episode, mate. I think hopefully for listeners, we wanted to do something a bit more punchy today, and we want to try and introduce more structure this year so that we're trying to get facts and information and interesting dialogue across and kind of ebb and flow the conversation throughout. So we'll do more work on that. I think, Stu, that was a good episode, wasn't it, in terms of just hashing out.
Yeah, man, it's good nuggets.
So we'll try to do more of that.
Sounds good. Well, have a good week, mate.
You too, big man. Subscribe as well. If you're listening to this, please do subscribe, and really helps us out. So, and share this episode.
Share with one other. That really helps. Share with one person in the property space who just wants to have a listen in, and we'll see you at the next event.
Yeah, big love. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah.